and good with the king. He's got to be smooth in some ways, right? I'm not sure. He's got to be kind of smooth political operator. You ever met a politician? They're smooth. JT, we were doing this defense course thing, and we had a politician there to watch it. It was how to protect our school from a school shooting. It's great. I wish all schools would take it. I found it very helpful. And I'm glad our school's going to implement this. I feel a lot safer knowing that our school's going to implement this. But bottom line is, so I'm sitting there in this class, and this politician stands up, and this lady, who's a great lady, stands up, and she asks him a political question, which was a good question, and it was about our school. It wasn't necessarily unwarranted. She wasn't necessarily being stupid. She was just bold, and she goes, "Hey, governor said this. Hasn't been done. What's going on?" Now, you need people like that in your life sometimes. But this politician is so smooth. It's like, yeah, we know that's a need. And I mean, and some of this is good leadership, and some of this is being smooth. But you know what I mean? He said, "I'll be glad to talk to you about that afterward, blah, blah, blah," you know. Haman is pumped about putting Mordecai on stick and killing him. Oh! I think he's going to be a little off balance with what happens next. I don't think he's going to be so smooth in a second here. Watch what happens next. He says, Haman came in, the king said, verse 6, "What shall be done to the man whom the king delighted to honor?" Now Haman thought in his heart, "To whom would the king delight to honor more than myself?" Wow! The dude rules an empire. Wow! Man, well, it's got to be me. It's got to be me. And he's like, whoa! Notice, he doesn't ask for money because Haman's loaded. Right? He doesn't ask for a title. How can you be more than the best friend of the king, right? So what's he want? He wants more ego time. Yeah. So he says this, whoa! He says, well, let royal apparel be brought, which the king useth to wear in the house, the horse king rideth upon, the crown royal, which is set upon his head. He's going for it. And let the apparel and the horse be delivered to the hands of one of the king's most noble princes. And made the arrayed man with all whom the king delighted to honor, and bring him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaim before him, thus it shall be done for the man whom the king delighted to honor. Oh, hot dog. Hey, we know that billionaires will spend money to get some cool things. We just found out. They died, right? But they wanted to go see the Titanic, right? And I guess one of them, one of the person here, maybe it was Robin or Ed, shared they went to see SpaceX too. I think it was you, Edward. And I didn't know that. So you all this money, and well, you don't need money. Haman probably could have burned money in the fireplace. I mean, he had a third. You know, when he killed the Jews, what we figure half the national income of an empire the man had to blow. I don't know how much money that is, but it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. He didn't need money. He could burn that in a fireplace, right? So he's thinking, did you notice the crown? Did you catch the crown? That's a little bold. It's a little bold. You know what I'm saying? It's a little bold. Verse 10, the king said to Haman, "Oh, what a great idea. Make haste and take apparel in the house which I have said, and do unto Mordecai the Jew that sitteth in the king's gate." He knows where Mordecai is too. Isn't that interesting? Interesting. Mordecai's a fixture. He goes, you know that Jewish guy that hangs out at the gate? The king's a little clueless too. I mean, in just a few months we're going to kill Mordecai. A little disconnect there, but okay. Yeah. So he's like, let's do this. Now I want you to think about this. Haman is stoked to go kill Mordecai. Mm-hmm. And now he's spent all day dragging Mordecai through the city, telling everybody that this is the guy the king wants to honor. Are you telling me that's not going to affect him psychologically? It's going to affect him psychologically. He is off his game big time right now. God has totally thrown Haman off his game. And he gets home, you don't have time to read it all, and he tells his wife and his wise men, and they're like, oh, it's bad. See, they all believed in omens and things like that. And, oh, the gods are against you, basically. It's bad. It's bad. But imagine, Haman spent, it's his worst day of his life. It's his worst day of his life. Have you ever had a really, really, really bad day? And you tell people, I'm sorry, I'm not really with it right now. You know what I mean? You're just totally out of it. Man, my boss screamed at me or something. Or I just got fired or whatever. You're not a happy camper at that point. Well, Haman has to slap a smile on his face to go to the banquet with the king. So he's in there, not nearly as smooth as he probably normally is. Probably just barely holding it together, right? Mm-hmm. And then Esther is about to drop a nuclear missile on his head. He has no idea that it's coming. The king doesn't know it's coming. And you're telling me the king doesn't look over at Haman? when she says it's Haman. And how does Haman look? Let me tell you something. All that sickness is all. I'm sure he looked like a daredevil. Oh, mom. You know, he's probably like, what? You know, maybe Smooth Haman could have done some of that. I think Haman in this stage was like, oh, mom. You know, I'm like an idiot. He was like, man, why did I think that guy was any good anyway? So check this out. Go ahead. So we're almost done here. So this is the climax of the story. So chapter 7, verse 1, we're almost done here. So the king and Haman came to the banquet with Esther the queen, all three of them. The king said again to Esther on the second day at the banquet of wine, what is thy petition, Queen Esther? What shall be granted unto thee? And what is thy request? And it shall be performed even to half the kingdom. The Bible does not say she looked him in the eyes. Okay, so take this for what it's worth. But there is power in a wife's eyes. Song of Solomon emphasizes that. Emphasizes the eyes. And you know what Proverbs says? Don't let the strange woman take you with her eyes. Don't let her take you with her eyes. Don't let her do that. There's power in the human eye. And there's something, when you look in your wife's eyes, there's something about that. There's something about that. And so you can imagine, he looks in love at his wife, and he's like, wife, what do you want? And she looks in the eyes, she says this back. She says, listen to this. She says, verse 3. And Esther the queen answered and said, if I have found favor in thy sight, O king, if it please the king, let my life be given to me at my petition, and my people at my request. So the king goes, sweetie, what would you like? What do you want? I'm madly in love with you. What do you want? And she looks in the eyes. And she goes, well, if it be okay, could you make sure I'm not killed? I mean, it's got to be powerful. And I'm sure she did it in a very, 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 she's pleading for the life of her and her people. Any husband is going to be absolutely moved at this point. And she goes, verse 4, now the little wifey logic comes in here. I don't think this is wrong. I think she's moving under God's authority here. Little wifey logic, but it's awesome logic. She goes, for we are sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to slain and perish. But if it had been sold for bondmen and bondswomen, I'd held my tongue, although the enemy could not have countervailed the king's damage. She goes, honey, I know you're busy. I know you're powerful. I'm sorry to impose upon you. If it was just that we were all sold to slavery, if it was just something minor like, you know, I don't know about you, that's not minor. That's catastrophic too. But this is, she knows her husband. She goes, I know you're a powerful, busy guy, and I know everybody in the world is always clamoring for attention, sweetheart. And I'd be the last one to put more on you. And if it was just the fact we're all sold into slavery, I could live with that. But they're going to kill us, sweetie. I got to ask you about that. That's so awesome. Then the king comes with his answer. Can you imagine? He's like, and asked the queen, who is he? And where does he the durst pursue? But it's hard to do so. He's a husband, folks. You're going to kill my wife? I want you to think about that, especially in this moment in time. And so he's like, where is this? I'm a Christian, so I'll say person. I'm sure he may have used stronger language than I've used here. Where does this individual reside so that I can kill him? You know? This is bad. I'm sure Haman has no idea what's coming next. Maybe he's, I don't know how smart Haman is. Maybe he's starting to put the pieces together. Maybe he's not. And this is the climax. Verse 6 is the climax. But and Esther said, the adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. Oh, wow. Enemy, adversary, and wicked. Those are three words you do not want to put in with you as you are before the king from the wife-o. Could you imagine this as we close? King-o is in love with wife-o, and Haman, even in his state, realizes, yeah, King really loves his wife. And he says, Esther, well, maybe he was thinking, man, I wish she'd asked me that. I got some things. I don't know. And she goes, well, and she starts out pretty normal. And she said, if you just saved my life, that'd be great. And the king says, when any man who loves his wife says, where is this guy that wants to kill you? Where does he reside? And that dares even think about this, the king says. The adversary and the enemy and the wicked man is this Haman guy. Whoa, it's like The Price is Right. A new car! Oh, except it's the opposite. It's you. Whoa, Whatever Haman expected, that was the nuclear bomb. That went from catastrophic dates to just really, well, probably the worst part was when they put him on the stake or hung, but that was pretty bad right there. We'll pick up, we got a patriotic sermon next week. We'll pick up, try to close out after this. Satan is trying to destroy human relationships in our culture. Who God has made you. A husband and a wife are a very normal thing. By the way, if you're single, God's cool with that too. All right? God controls all things. So if you're single, God controls that. If you're married, God controls that. If you're smart enough to listen, anyway, we'll let that go. And you know why a lot of you related to that sermon? Because you can imagine the men in the room are like, yeah, somebody threatened my wife's life. You can feel it. And you know what I mean even if you're a teen and you've never been married, you've looked into, maybe if you dated, you've looked into somebody else's eyes, and there's power in that. You know that. You know what I'm talking about. There's power in that. Even if you've never been married, you know the power of that. Power. Satan is trying to rob our culture and the world of the basic joys of life. And I'll leave you with this. Again, I know I said it the other week. I'm not trying to be the dead horse. The whole plot to exterminate the Jews was defeated by a wife, being a wife. And it's something in our culture that's not very low. But what do you do? What are you successful at? A godly wife and a godly mother is worth more than can possibly. The Bible actually says that. So, man, I know it's not Mother's Day, but today, appreciate your wives. Wives, appreciate your husbands. Because if you and your husband had some time alone, and you really had his attention, and he was really focused on you, and you had a very serious need, you know he would care. You know he would care. So let's pray. Father, what a beautiful story of how to trust you. But in that story is also just the roles you've given us, the role of the wife, the role of the husband. Lord, an entire nation was saved by a woman being a wife. And by a man being a husband. And Father, I love it. Because sometimes our most complicated, vexing problems that Dave was talking about, fear, that we spend way too much time being fearful of. And as Dave Kemp brought up, Lord, sometimes, Lord, some of the bad things that happen to people that hold their faith, Lord, we think, oh man. And Lord, sometimes I've been fearful of what you'll ask me to do. And I don't need to be scared. Because no matter what the problem is, if you allow bad things to happen to me, you're in full control of that situation. And no matter how impossible the situation is, you can defeat it with a housewife being a wife. Even if it's a problem empire-sized. Thank you for your power and might, Lord Jesus. Thank you for how awesome you are. I pray we would not just know that theologically, but actually believe it in our heart. It will change the way we interact with you and make us much happier. We will rejoice even in bad times. We'll rejoice even when bad things happen to us, even when horrible things are said to us. We'll rejoice because we know you're making us better. In Jesus' name, amen. Let's sing a hymn and go home.